Hi guys, this is Eric, CCTV, and welcome to have another watch of this fantastic CCTV. I'm very glad and honored actually to have Josef Bruckschloegl here with me, CEO from Kwak Telecom. How are you doing?
I'm very well. Great having you here.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How did everything go for you guys last year, and what is your prognosis for the coming year?
2019 was quite good for us in terms of, since we focused rather early on this payment facilitation things based on telecom infrastructure. I think we hit a major trend. You know, markets are getting more dense, and so the need for content billing for all sorts of payment facilitation, especially in unbanked areas, is growing. And here we're profiting on. So hopefully 2020 will be the same trend, and we're working hard to keep it upwards. And so from that point of view, I'm pretty happy.
Okay, well that sounds promising actually, because Kwak Telecom is actually the driving force to establish the international premium rate numbers in the international telecommunication community as a global tool for micropayment, and that's actually what I think you were referring to. So tell me a little bit, and us actually a little bit more about the advantages of micropayment.
Oh,
because you're hitting actually fintech here.
Oh, indeed. It's very close to fintech, and we are profiting on two major trends. On the one hand, you see a fragmentation within media industries. So I was before state-owned firms like television, etc., was quite fragmented. So these entities has to share the advertising cake among them, and this is why they're inventing more and more these interaction formats where they are invoicing their recipients and their users. On the other hand, you see a major trend to internationalization of media industries. So when I grew up in Austria, there were primarily two TV stations.
ORF1 and ORF2.
ORF1 and ORF2. When I compare this with the media consumption of my kids, they are watching Bloomberg, CNN, Al Jazeera, content from all over the world, including social media and YouTube and so on.
Of the world. Yeah.
Exactly. And to facilitate payments on this international business, international premium rate numbers are a very effective tool, especially in unbanked areas. And so we identified this early on, and since 10 years we're building this tool and getting more good feedback.
Okay, that sounds good, because IPRN still not has, if I may say so, the best reputation among many within the telecom industry. So how come, and what are you telling people who are a bit skeptic about misuse or fraud? How do you deal with that?
At the end of the day, like in any money facilitating business, it doesn't matter if it's credit cards or bank accounts or whatever, there are smart guys out there who try to defraud the system. Unfortunately. And I think it's mandatory for serious players, as we are, to fight this, to have a clear fraud prevention strategy. So we're doing this on two levels. On the one hand, ID-based, so by identifying fraud patterns and all those things. On the other hand, we have real teams sitting, screening the content, screening the traffic, and so on, to avoid troubles for the supply chain. And out of this, I think, especially we as Kwak could establish a quite nice reputation. So all the big boys in the telecom industries are collaborating with us, despite this reputational risk many assume. Because I think if you apply high standards and high ethic rules and compliance standards and so on, you earn the reputation out of this. And so from that point of view, yes, there will always be people who try to defraud the system, but at the end of the day, as I said before, it's a vibrant and valid payment tool which works in areas where all the other things do not work.
No, and that's also where the market is.
Indeed.
Of course. Yeah, no. So it works actually on two ways.
Yeah.
You're mentioning actually in addressing unbanked populations in, for instance, emerging markets. How do you see the role of telecom and telecom payment services in these markets?
Incredibly important, incredibly important. Imagine there are 1.7 billion people out there without having access to bank accounts, without having access to credit cards, but we have 5.7 billion smartphones users globally. So we have a target group of approximately 25% of global population who have no access to payment facilitation. And if I consider the growing business of applications, if I consider the growing business of interactive media and so on, there's only one chance how to process the payments of these people, because all of them receive their mobile operator's invoice or having a prepaid account or whatever. So we have a full global penetration of mobile communication, and I think it's an extremely important outlook for the overall telecom industry. You know, many in our industry are suffering of eroding margins and high competition and so on. So I think one of the great future outlooks when it comes to holistic point of view of telecoms is the payment facilitation, and we consider this as a major trend. And the closer we collaborate and the cleaner we keep the business, the better it is.
No, absolutely, because of course fintech is not new. It's not since today or since yesterday. But what you do see is also, let's say, more in several and other industries actually, you know, getting into that, getting into the fintech as well. Especially banks, credit cards, insurances, everything.
Indeed, but imagine one circumstance. It's if you take a look what Apple Pay is doing, or Google Pay, or many other wallet providers, they're always dependent on having the bank account in the back. So I myself, I'm Austrian citizen, but I'm not able to use Apple Pay because my bank has no contract with Apple yet. If there is the possibility that I can top up my wallet through my mobile operator, of course I would use. Or giving you another example, I used to be director of e-commerce at Telekom Austria back in the year 2000, and when people did not want to enter their credit card into the online shop, so we offered them paying on their telecom operator's bill, and 92% of the users of the online shop used the possibility to pay by the mobile operator's invoice.
Because they trusted.
Because they are trusted, it's convenient, it's safe, you have a call center where you can comply if something goes wrong, and it's an established process, and it's a global process. I think this is...
And in let's say in areas what you just described, it's also most of the time the only access to the world.
Indeed. Indeed. Just have a look at sub-Saharan area. Take a look at, let's say, India. In India, you have on a population of 1 million people, you have 25 ATMs. So even if you have access to, you stand in a queue forever. And I think here telecoms have really the potential to increase the convenience of people by adding an additional offer to the audience, and I think that's great.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. There is an organic trend shifting audience from classical media to social media.
Oh yes,
we saw this. How does it affect actually your business?
We are preparing ourselves for this change in media reception. On the one hand, we see decreasing numbers when it comes to television and so on. On the other hand, you see an enormous growth when it comes to YouTube, social media, Insta, and all those things. And since social media and those influencers are currently used to do their business on product placement and so on, I think it's just the next logical step to teach them the techniques television already learned, like Germany's 60 Superstar, X Factor, and so on, and include voting, polling, etc. in their revenue streams, because what these people have is an enormous big audience. Imagine we're having a partner who is reaching 900 million people with his Insta account. And so you see a shift in the media environment. And of course, an entity like Kwak Telecom has to adopt on this and serve this new audience.
Yeah. Do you expect a big transformation?
Indeed.
Yeah.
I think the transformation is already happening. It's, I referred before to the media consumption of my kids. This is YouTube, this is Insta, this is Snapchat, and it's not classical old TV. And so the transformation is going on. I think we are already far, but it won't stop. And we have no clue what's coming up during the next years.
And if really AI, so artificial intelligence, will kick in, really will kick in, then I think there will be even bigger transformation.
Indeed, because we see an individualization of content. You know, back in the days, all of us watched the same thing. Now you watch whatever you want. And what we as a telecom industry has to provide, on one hand, access to the contents, because people are watching on their smartphone, on their iPad, on
Basic
whatever.
services.
Basic services. We can help them with payment facilitation services and more also with advertising services. And in a time where data is the most valuable good we have, data is more valuable than oil or anything. Just take a look at big tech. I think telecoms are in an awesome condition and position to serve these needs. And I think we will see a tremendous shift in the focus of telecom companies over the next couple of years, because it's a huge potential, and I think we are prepared to raise it.
Sounds exciting. Right?
Indeed, it is.
What's heading towards us. Okay, so give us an outlook. Where do you see, let's say, the international premium rates in, let's say, 3 to 5 years from now?
I think we will see two major changes. On the one hand, I think we will get above the scenario that you really need a number. So at the end of the day, it's much more about the billing record at the end of the day than the call data record. So I think we will see here a technological transformation. On the one hand. On the other hand, I think since there is no outlook that in the unbanked areas bank accounts will now grow out of the soil in millions, telecom has the potential to become the prime payment facilitator, not just for content, but also for utility bills, for salaries, for all sorts of things, using the enormous infrastructure we're having there.
Energy companies are using the smart meters already, so and you pay actually as you go your energy bill.
That's the thing. When you go to South Africa, you get advertising from Vodacom, buy prepaid energy, and those sorts of things. And I think this will become more and more natural. This will become more and more standard. This has an enormous outlook in terms of global market share for telcos, and I think there's a bright future ahead for all of us.
But also on the other hand, the adaptation of those services, that's my view, will be quite quick actually.
Oh yes, it's with tremendous speed. You know, it's mobile communication gave the people a platform to invent on. When you came to Africa 20 years ago, there was no fixed line, no nothing. Due to the fact that mobile communication is sort of an entry portal to the world. Think of education, think of payment services and so on. And people are creative. Once you give them a certain platform they can develop on, just take a look at what's going on in fintech in Nigeria, in Kenya and so on. This is vibrant. This is where the party is playing. And it's a huge population. Take rural India. It's enormous. Huge. It's an enormous market potential, and people love their smartphones. And whatever they can do on this, whatever which increase their access to the value chain for commerce, for all sorts of things, I think this is one of the major transformations in mankind, that you have a fully interconnected world with the ability to charge for services. So I think it's hard to predict what is going to come, because we'll never be as smart as all the inventors.
Nobody has a glass ball. No.
And there's so many inventors and creative people and entrepreneurs, etc., who push it to the limit. And so from that point of view, I think, coming back to your question, where do I see Kwak in 5 years from now? In even a better position as we currently are, because I think that the major trend, not just facilitating voice or SMSs or whatever, but building a platform where people can build on their entrepreneurship, their education, and then is an unstoppable trend.
With those last words, I would like to finish this interview, and I want to thank you very much.
Rick,
Ladies
pleasure.
and gentlemen, Josef Bruckschloegl, CEO from Kwak. Thank you very much, and if they want to know more, they just go to your website, or they just call you personally.
It was a pleasure being here.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you
you so much. Thank you so much. So guys, thank you very much. I'm thanking the whole team, the video team, and the Care community and the GCCM. See you next time. Ciao for now. Bye-bye.